As Lith approached Celia's house, a feeling of shame came over him. It's a pity I had to waste such good equipment and horse meat, but I had no plausible excuse to explain how I found them. Our farm could have also used the horses, but what if someone recognized them? Keeping anything would have been too risky. Destroying all the evidence was the right thing to do. Once he'd finished his research with the young nobleman, Lith had used dark magic to turn everything and everyone into dust and erase any evidence. Meanwhile, Celia was so excited to get her hands on 2 snow-white rabbits that she let it slip how much she needed their pelt to fill the order of a very generous client. Using Celia's own pragmatic teachings against her, Lith exploited the situation. "Hunters don't do favors, they cut deals," he said. So, in exchange for the rabbits, Lith managed to get a full set of warm clothes perfect for the winter season. The clothes and the rabbit meat earned him great praise from his family, except for Orpal. He started taking for granted all the food that Lith was bringing home, so his hatred and envy returned in full force. "That stupid leech. Hunting with magic is easy. Any idiot could do it. Everything he does is a slap in my face. I never get the respect I deserve for being the firstborn, and it's all because of him. First, he flaunts his hunting abilities, and then he plays the good son by asking mother and father to give our first set of fur clothes to that waste of space Tista. Why would Tista need them? But of course, he knows that my stupid parents still resent me for telling the truth about that cripple. Lith only did that to make me look bad compared to him." The truth, however, was very different from what Orpal's self-centered mind told him. Lith really loved his mother and 2 sisters. However, he couldn't care less about Orpal. He healed anyone in the family without being asked. All except for Orpal. Lith didn't do it out of spite or anger, but simply because Orpal's existence was completely irrelevant to him. Lith couldn't care less if Orpal lived or died. He wouldn't intentionally harm him, but he wouldn't help him either. As far as Lith was concerned, they were strangers living in the same house. Lith wanted Tista to be the first to benefit from his new abilities, in the hopes that the new clothes would allow her to spend more time outside with him and Rena in the winter. Maybe she could even play in the snow. In Lith's eyes, Tista was the same as Carl. They were both victims of a cruel fate, but he loved them deeply and wanted to protect them. Lith wasn't going to let anything or anyone take Tista away from him. Not like what had happened with Carl. Not even an incurable illness would stand in his way. He felt bad at the thought of how little Tista could enjoy life. To give her a small sample of its joys, he built her a swing with the help of their father, Raz. It was nothing special, just a wooden plank attached to 4 tight ropes hanging from a wooden framework. But his family was impressed nonetheless. Swings were not common in this new world, or at least not in the country of Lustia. Raz looked at the final product with admiration. "It's amazing. But why use 3 wooden beams instead of 1? "Safety reasons," Lith said. He explained it further by using earth magic to make the last 3 inches of the beams sink underground, making it impossible for the swing to be toppled by bad weather or strong movements. "That way both ends are similar to a chair. Multiple legs means that the weight is equally distributed among them, which reduces the stress on each beam." "Of course," his father said. "Now that you've explained it, it all seems so simple. By the way, what do we call this thing?" Lith didn't know how to answer. He had no idea what the words for swing and swinging were in this new world, and he didn't want to ask now. It's a rocking chair," he said. "Shit, why do I always screw up the little details? This is definitely not a rocking chair, but it's the closest thing I could think of with my current vocabulary," he thought. Tista fell in love with the rocking chair, and it soon became a popular pastime for the entire family. In fact, it was so popular that Raz had to build 2 more to avoid fights between the siblings over who got to use it. During the following months, Lith tried to apply what he had learned from his experiments with dark magic by casting both life vision and invigoration to treat Tista's symptoms. "If I could use invigoration to see Tista's body as detailed as it allows me to see my own, I could better understand the underlying cause of her condition and have a better chance of finding a cure," he thought. In the blink of an eye, it was almost winter again, and Lith's 5th birthday was fast approaching. Lith was determined to spend every single day before the cold season began catching as much game as he could. and filling the house's storeroom to the brim with food. He had no idea how cold the upcoming winter was going to be, and even if he was sure he was strong enough to survive a storm, he doubted his parents would allow him to test his theory. During the past year, Lith had explored more and more of the Tron Woods, learning how to move without making a sound. He had discovered new uses for dark magic. His newest spell, Shroud, allowed him to hide his body odor and aura by covering himself in a thin layer of dark magic. This made it impossible for any animal to notice him, but it wasn't an easy spell to cast. Even a small misstep would turn Shroud into a full-blown alarm, making the whole forest aware of his presence. One day, Lith was exploring a new deep area in the woods. He wanted to investigate an odd sound that had tormented him for days. In certain areas of the woods, Lith could hear an annoying buzzing sound. Until that day, he had managed to ignore it. At first, he thought it was the call of some weird, unknown animal. But during these last few days, the noise had become stronger. Whatever this is, it's playing on my nerves. This awful sound is piercing my ears and I can't hunt in peace, he thought. Lith then thought that the sound could be a desperate cry for help. He didn't understand how he got that idea, but his gut was telling him that he should find the origin. Ever since Lith started practicing martial arts back on Earth, he had learned to follow his gut, and he was going to do that now. The closer he got, the louder the noise became. Lith knew he was on the right path. He started running when he heard a howl that chilled him to the bone. He immediately used two spells, Shroud to conceal himself, and Light Feet to float a few feet above the ground and make his movements completely silent. Both required a lot of concentration, but it was better to spend some mana than to put himself in danger. He remained calm and focused while he searched for the source of that noise. Then, he found it. Holy shit, that's a Rye, he thought. He quickly hid behind a tree. A Rye was a magical wolf beast, the apex predator of the Tron Woods. Magical beasts were more common and weaker than monsters, but they could easily kill a fully armed soldier. Not every animal could turn into a magical beast. Those who did needed to have a great talent for magic and enough time to feed off the world energy. Once an animal became a magical beast, it could use its mana to boost its physical prowess, and even create spells using elements from its surroundings. The Rye was almost as big as a horse, with thick fur the color of fire. Lith didn't understand why a Rye would come so close to a human settlement. Ryes were intelligent beasts that avoided unnecessary trouble. If humans didn't disturb them, they didn't disturb humans either. Lith felt pity for the beast. After making sure he was downwind of the Rye, he canceled both spells to save precious mana and analyzed the situation. The Rye kept howling and growling, as if it was in pain. Lith noticed that every time the Rye's snout got close to the ground, the buzzing sound would become high-pitched and the beast would whine in pain. Now more curious than afraid, Lith activated Life Vision to estimate the level of the Rye's power. What he saw made him gasp. The Rye was unbelievably strong. Its mana flow was almost on par with Lith's. But the real reason for Lith's amazement was a second mana flow that belonged to the source of the buzzing sound. It was a little stone, smaller than a thimble. I can't believe it. The pebble is alive? That explains everything. The noise it's producing must have lured the Rye here just like it lured me. Based on his reaction, the noise must be much more annoying to it than it is to me. I've never heard of rocks with mana flow. That thing must be a magical item. I can't let that brute destroy it, he thought. Throwing caution to the wind, Lith decided to take action and save the magic stone. My life force is inferior to the Rye's, but if I can avoid a close encounter, I know I can win. His mana flow is inferior to mine, and from what Celia told me, magical beasts don't have attack spells. Lith activated Shroud again, and then he started weaving his strongest spell. Plague Arrow! A bolt of dark energy flew from his hands, hitting the Rye in its back while it was trying to crack the stone with its teeth. The screeching sound and the pebble both hit at the same time, making the beast almost lose its footing. Plague Arrow was a spell that injected a large amount of dark magic in its victim, disrupting their mana flow and their life force. Lith had charged it as much as he could, hoping to send the beast on the run. Before the Rye could turn around to search for its attacker, a stream of lightning bolts erupted from Lith's hands, hitting the beast with enough force to knock it down. Lith changed Shroud for life vision to assess the damage. Despite the heavy attacks, the Rye was still alive and strong. Lith focused his spirit magic and, using both hands, he tried to break the Rye's neck from a safe distance away, as he had done with other animals before. But the Rye wasn't stupid. As soon as it felt an ominous grip around its neck, it contracted its muscles and reinforced its neck with mana, making it harder than steel. Shit! So much for having the advantage. If only I could use fire magic, it would already be roasted to death. I wish it could just go away because that stone is mine, he thought. Lith conjured several ice javelins and threw them at the magical beast from multiple angles. The Rye easily dodged them and retaliated with a powerful magic source. The only thing that saved Lith was the distance between him and the beast. It gave him enough time to see the massive blast coming his way, and allowed him to dodge it at the last minute while using his own wind magic to dissipate its effects. His sleeves were completely destroyed, but aside from that and some flesh wounds, he was fine. Thanks a lot, Celia. Apparently magical beasts do have offensive spells. Hooray for me! The Rye charged at Lith, using its wind blasts to disrupt his rhythm. Lith did his best to keep the beast at bay, but he was no match for the wolf's physical prowess. It was only a matter of time before the Rye would get him. Lith started running. Running won't save my life, so I need a new plan. Fight dirty, he thought. Lith stopped running. He conjured many ice javelins, but instead of throwing them at the beast, he let them float around him. After a moment of hesitation, the Rye chose to ignore the javelins and charge straight at Lith. Yeah, come on, eat this! Twin spell! Flash and bang! Lith's right hand produced a massive flash of light. For a moment, it looked like a second sun had appeared. He used his left hand to produce a strong noise, one that sounded like a big explosion. The Rye fell and writhed in pain. Its eyes and ears were bleeding while Lith emerged completely unscathed. He had learned long ago that as long as his spells were infused with his mana, they wouldn't harm him. He could cover himself in fire, ice, or light without getting a single scratch. Using spirit magic, Lith lifted the Rye and made it crash against a tree. Then, he used the javelins, throwing them with all his strength. All of them hit the target, but the thick, magical fur prevented them from impaling the beast. They only pierced a few layers of flesh. Lith used life vision again to check on his opponent, but he was dismayed by the results. The Rye was definitely wounded and weakened, but was far from dead. Damn it! So much effort for so little damage! If I continue like this, I'm the one who'll end up dead. The Rye only needs one good hit to kill me. It's not worth the risk. Lith used spirit magic to recover the magic stone, and then he ran for his life. The stone was full of teeth marks, and its sharp surface prickled Lith's skin. So long, sucker! Lith screamed at the beast. See you again in a few years. When we meet again, let's see if you still dare attack me, he said. One of Lith's fingers was bleeding, and when a drop of his blood touched the stone, the noise immediately stopped. The Rye was still trying to comprehend what had just happened. It had only wanted the stupid noise to stop before that fierce man-pup showed up. The Rye had tried to scare him and teach him a lesson. Instead, it had received a lesson of its own. Bah, who cares? The Rye thought. I wanted to get rid of that stupid rock, and one way or another, I got the job done. That was one feisty pup, though. I hope he shows more consideration towards his pack than he did for me. Otherwise, when he grows up, he'll be a danger to everyone, including his kin. Stupid greedy humans. They only bring trouble. They're incapable of taking care of each other. With these thoughts, the Rye, leader of all the packs in the Tron Woods, got rid of the javelins and returned to his family.